Have you ever had your buttocks tingled? And I don't mean in a weird way. I mean in the sense that you have an insanely good turd prepped and ready. Like it's coming out of your hole, preparing itself, stretching for the record-breaking widths it's about to reach. I've had it plenty of times. Far more than I could ever count. Sometimes the anticipation of it was so great I couldn't even push it out until the next day when there was even more added onto it for my dinner the previous night. Now this feeling, my friends, my precious viewers, is exactly the type of feeling that the announcement of Astdx gave me, which I know sounds crazy. You're telling me that after 4 long and incredibly amazing and near the end of horrible years of ASTD, we were finally getting a sequel. An actual new game sequel with a quality that was supposed to, equal anime adventures and compete with anime vanguards? If you didn't have me getting a raging stiffy, I certainly had one now. It was a feeling only something like an iNinja, niche as hell, remake could give me. God, I really hope that happens. A feeling untouched for the longest time and one that has never once in my life been fully fulfilled. All I've been is edged. And friends, I must say, it was truly the biggest gut-punching, turd-throwing, elephant anal-crawling pain of all time when the game finally released and it turned out to be Mule Scat. It felt like my good old paintbrush had been ripped right out of my sphincter and shoved into my ear. God, it was so painful to say. I don't even think having a stillborn felt this bad. That's a little much. But you guys get my feelings at this point now. Keeping them clear at the beginning of the video. Astdx was the biggest thing for ATD players since sliced bread. And holy did we eat that game up when it released. And before you start thinking about it, no, us being this hyped for the game did not put our expectations too high, meaning it would always fail. This game was hot garbage from the beginning. Now, speaking of the beginning, let's get right into that. Astdx released July 5th of 2025. Kind of coming up to nearly a year since it released, if you really think about it. Well, not really, but we're in 2026, so I can say what I want. On its release day, the game reached an insane player count that completely dwarfed anything OG ASTD could ever imagine, hitting over 170,000 plus players on its first day. And a few days later, on July 12th, it hit over 200,000 concurrent players. For a tower defense game, these were absolutely insane numbers, nearly matching that of anime vanguards on its release. Unless we're not counting bots, otherwise I don't know how close it would be. But ASTDX was huge, as it was the most anticipated ATD game for years, ever since it was first mentioned way back in God knows when. I couldn't even track it down. But these numbers being so high and all this hype surrounding the game made people completely blind to the horrendous scarring that had covered the game ever since day one. Now, I won't lie, either I didn't like them adding traits, but since it was ASTD in some way, I knew they couldn't do anything wrong, and they never lead us loyal players astray, right? Right? Well, folks, here's the hard, cold truth. Something nearly on the levels of the Epstein files, except in Roblox, but it's also not Meep City. But ASTDX was a goddamn meme coin rug pull. Now, I might sound crazy for saying that, I know. But just listen to me for a moment, alright? As we all know, the true rug pull is Anime Adventures. But ASTDX released, and obviously, the first red flag that people had noticed were the addition of traits. Old ASTD never added traits. Even after AA released, it stuck to its ways and tried to do things in its own format. Did it always work? Heck, nah, it sucked most of the time. The longer World 2 went on, it got worse and worse. But they still stuck to most of their values and didn't really make players pay for anything outside of the first Battle Pass. Especially because you could eventually just summon free Battle Pass premium tickets on the banner with gems. The trade rules weren't the only red flag, though. Oh, no. ASTDX wanted to try and be different with their in-game purchases. By this, I mean them adding the little unit summon animations that would play whenever you place down a unit. This sounds like a cool idea, right? Especially for something that was surely free and or obtainable in game through grinding in some way, right? I'm gonna keep it real, son. They monetized the front, back, inside, anus, and front wiener of it. They not only made them cost $10 to $20 per small 2-second summon animation, but they made them limited. Not only did they make them far too expensive for a small cosmetic purchase, but it literally pushed FOMO, the fear of missing out, onto all of the people who looked into the shop. You want to get this super awesome but super minor Akira slide unit animation? Better pay up a portion of your paycheck before it's gone forever. I mean, seriously, the old ASTD would never do something as heinous as this. Well, besides their capsule units that would change every update or so, but they weren't ever really good, and they were just used for trading. And on top of making them limited, they would add in new ones every update. Like, why on earth, I'm talking about the unit summon animations, why on earth would you even waste dev time early at nearly every update just to add in these stupid summon animations almost no one's going to pay attention to after the third time of seeing it? It was just pure and utter greed straight down to its core. And of course they had to bring their sweet, sweet summon capsules back just to add on to their godforsaken trading system, which for some reason took more attention and time from them than almost anything else in the game, seeing as how everything else they added was garbage. On top of that, they made the battle pass no longer freely obtainable through the shop, and by shop I mean summon. Should have said summon there, my fault. And put limited, actually good units in there, but that's more of a minor thing since most games do that nowadays. But it just goes to show they were throwing in every possible monetization idea they could into the game. But above all else, there was a singular monetization tactic that puts them right at the top of my list alongside AA with how god dang greedy it made them. The Royal Drops system. Now you're probably asking, Blake, what is this Royal Drops system you just spoke about? Well, let me tell you. It's basically a mix of puzzles and dragons, Candy Crush, and a top-of-the-line, fully functionable, and addictive slot machine. Every single spin took a precious 50 gems just for a chance at some random bullcrap and cosmetics. Now let this be known too, gems are far less apparent in ASTDX than they are in the original. Getting gems on release was horrid, and I don't even know how it is now, because I don't play the game that much. But even then, you might be asking yourself another question. Well, if it's just with gems and for cosmetics, why is it so bad? Well, little Temmie, let me tell ya. Because it's addicting and meant to dull your senses as much as physically possible. It's no different from drawing in senile old people into a casino and dragging them right to the slots with all of their inheritance money right in their hands that was meant for their grandchildren. The flashy effects, the bar at the top showing you just how close you were to maybe getting something rare, just for it to end up being something stupid like 10 gold or a worthless basic capsule. They even had multipliers on the dang thing for when you get big combos. Like, bro, are we serious? That is exactly like slot machines in a casino. This is the most blatant gambling scheme in Roblox. They don't even try to hide it. The top prize is a Shenron mount that's 1 in 3.3 thousand. A mount people have been wanting in games for millennia. But that's enough about that stupid system. I think I got my point across. Let's change topics over to something a bit more mildish in comparison that somehow spiraled into the worst part of the entire game. That being the absolutely garbage usage and delivery of Unbound units. Now, Unbound units were basically the secret rarity in ASTDX that AV had on its release, like with Alucard. Except the best unit in the entire game that would later get buffs and have another Unbound unit added is locked behind a 0.01% drop rate with no pity. And by no pity, I don't mean some Anime Crusaders crap where it's hidden or anything. I mean genuinely no pity at all in any way. It did eventually get added, but it took a really long time, and I'm pretty sure it didn't count every single gem that you spent on the banner beforehand. Because of gems being such a rare commodity, this made the obtainments even worse, because for the first time in forever, it nearly forced players to spend Robux in order to have a chance at finally obtaining the Unbound unit on the banner that they would then have to eventually go and roll on for another low chance of 0.2% for the unique trait. Do you see the problem here? All of these systems not only interfere with each other gameplay-wise, but they feed into themselves. The Royal Drops makes you waste your gems for a dopamine rush, then the banner requires more gems to summon the rarest units, hence making you want to spend Robux. Then the shiny items in the shop calling your name while you scroll down to go and buy some gems or bundles, aka the summon animations. It all works in tandem to try every tactic to make you waste your money. And they built on this problem too. Not only did they add a second Unbound unit to the other banner, but they added another one, Diavolo, that takes an entirely different currency to summon on. I mean, you can't make this up, guys. Seriously, this has to be the hardest and biggest fall from grace I have ever seen in my life from a game. This game is a pure and utter mockery of everything that OG ASTD stood for. And Fruity Sama, you should feel ashamed of yourself for ruining your brand. That, however, is going to be about all that I go into for this video, people, as it's already getting pretty long with my rants and just my yap session here. But I'll cover the actual garbageness of the video game some other time in a completed ASTD and ASTDX iceberg, whenever I end up getting that. But by that, I basically mean I'm going to go over what actually made the game garbage outside of the monetary predatoriness. Now, I would like to talk, I don't want to talk about the drama and stuff that happened with the game and why it's currently not updating, but I don't really have the info or anything to really delve into it, to be honest, and I don't really care to, because I'm more focused on the actual gameplay above everything else. If something is on the dev side because they are either too egotistical, too greedy, or they just simply are bad devs, that's on the dev team, and that's on them for not delivering the product that they promised to produce. So, for now, that's just how things are gonna, that's just what we're gonna be going for. And I mean, really, it's like being diagnosed with cancer and choosing to have a kid that gets cancer because of you. It just doesn't make sense to end two beautiful things just for the sake of money. I'm talking about ASTD and ASTDX. And also, prayers out to anyone struggling with cancer and chemo, though. Y'all are the strongest people out there, and whatever you think you can't survive, you can! Just keep on pushing. You'll get there eventually. Anyways, until our next meeting, my meisters, I'm about to go take a massive dump, dude. I think I got a stomach bug.